if you guys haven't been up to date on YouTube for a while, the guys from Skid Factory are coming down here shortly after LS Fest. We are having an open house on the 19th and we're selling some t-shirts, so their shirt is now on our store. That helps cover the porta potties and food trucks and venue and whatever else, so stay tuned for that. We will be selling those t-shirts. We don't have a pile of money, so we're not getting thousands and thousands of dollars of inventory. We're trying to do some pre-sales to kind of gauge who's coming and whatever. We understand you don't want to buy the t-shirt in case you can't make it. We'll sell the t-shirts and we'll ship them after the event. If we're short, we can always order more t-shirts then on that limited run. But we don't want to run out for the people that made the effort to drive out and want a signature or whatever on the t-shirt. So order your t-shirt. If you can't make it, we probably won't ship them till afterwards. Just keep that in mind. You got to be patient. But that does help us out with all the upfront costs that we have to cover. So stay tuned for more information on that. Watch Skid Factory to see what they're doing. They're going to Drag Week first, and then they're coming to the Great White North here to hang out with us Canucks. So anyway, appreciate everything you guys are doing, and if we don't see you at LS Fest, we will see you at the open house. Here we go. Alright, so we had some major issues with Quattro di Boccio and Super Speeders Rob Project Car Challenge. Biggest one right off the bat was our cooling system. We had oil going into the turbos, which was another system, fuel management, boost control, and engine management. We're working on each system at the same time. It just takes a while to accumulate all the parts, the right fittings, the right whatever we need. We're going to take each system that let us down, explain how we're going to fix it. You cannot put a scavenge pump directly on a turbo drain. Okay, for our boost control, we're using our control solenoids from Holley. So we've got our compressor mounted there. Right here we need an air tank. Nord-Lock sent us a couple samples on these lock washers, and they're actually really cool. It's a two-piece system, and what it is, it's serrated on one end, which grabs the nut or the bolt and whatever surface you're going up against, and on the inside is a taper that acts like a wedge. And if you can see that, as the nut wants to rattle loose because of vibration, it actually goes up on the ramp and spreads it out, and it actually gets tighter. By far, these are the best lock washers that I've ever used, and it seems that every time I grab into the container, I thought it'd be a pain lining them up. They seem to be kind of gravitated toward each other. They always come in twos, and they're already ready to go. I thought it'd be hard to look at them and flip them over. Really cool. So on the axles, on the differential, not on the bell housing, I don't think we need them there. Definitely on our brakes, on our mounting bracket for a brake, they're gonna get all of these washers. So Nord-Lock, check them out online. We'll put a link to the video that shows their test videos on the vibrations. Really cool. All right, so we've got our compressor mounted there. Right here we need an air tank. With the VNR, all they had was big giant steel ones. So we made this one, which is just a piece of intercooler pipe with the ends welded shut, and then some holes tapped for air lines and a pressure sensor. We got a nice little holder here that will hold it in place. We'll put it right here and then start routing our air lines for the wastegates and whatever else. I put more fittings in there than I needed because a plug is easier than drilling it and tapping it and having all the shavings fall inside. So I'm gonna hit this with the grinder, clean it up a little bit, just those welds on the outside, and then we're good. Yeah, here we go.
One problem we had with the Audi is we had, what, 0 boost control?
We were going up against spring pressure.
Spring pressure,
so
and
we put 30-pound springs in there, and we figured that's all the time we had, and we completely ran out of money. So it's like, well, we'll cross our fingers. But to counteract the boost control, I hooked up the turbos wrong altogether, so we were never really making more than 7 pounds anyway. And
our wastegates leaked anyway, or whatever.
Right,
the wastegates?
Yeah,
they're wastegates. I forget what all the stuff's called. So anyway, during the Holley training, Tom was talking about boost control and actually controlling it. So he's talked about using like a CO2 cylinder to hold pressure against it. A lot of guys use air pressure so they can control it more than just spring pressure. And then he was talking about buying an air compressor, little guy, out of like a Cadillac or something. This one's out of an Escalade, but it's a little handy unit, all in one. It's got an air dryer on it. It comes in a little nice package. We're gonna tuck it up under the car somewhere.
So it's pretty funny because we were in class, and he goes, "Don't buy a cheap one. You want to buy a good quality industrial one that's got rubber mounts on it and then meant for a vehicle." So we were already getting parts delivered to the Corvette Museum for Andrew.
Yeah, our whole.
Yeah, so I went out. I called whatever wrecking yard it was. I forget which one. I'm like, "Do you have a compressor for an Escalade?" They're like, "Yeah, $30." And literally 2 hours later, Tom telling us we needed a air compressor from an Escalade. We had one in our hands, which was kind of funny.
So we're just figuring out the wiring on it. We're guessing that's some kind of pressure switch. We don't really need it. We already got one in the tank.
Yeah, so we're using the pressure switch from the Holley system because I imagine this would run higher PSI than what we need. We only need like
we
30.
have no idea what that turns off and on at and whatever.
No.
So we cut the cable. The air compressor works. We've got our intake and this guy, which is actually a dryer as well because there's little beads or something in there. Went to these two tiny little hoses. So we're just taking it apart right now. So all it was is I pulled this clip out. And then you can pull this guy. Oh, no, I can't. I'm not strong enough. You do it, Rich.
Yeah. So, basically...
Teamwork.
I don't think there's too much tension. No, there's not.
Oh, okay.
That's not bad.
Don't spoil the guts out.
That's kind of gross.
What's in there? And
Like
you want to
mice?
keep that?
Mice? Is that mice?
That's rust.
Oh, is there something else in there?
Yeah, it's probably
Can you clear up some of my bench?
Yeah, sure. How much?
Oh,
Rich.
That's a silicon?
Silica seed?
Silica seed?
Silica. No, these look like glass almost.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, we're gonna put that back in there and never pretend we opened it.
Are we? So we pulled these little lines out of this fitting that slides over top of this thing. I think I'm going to glue the line in. It's a really tight fit, but I'm just going to put a little bit around the outside, shove it in, not much, and then put this over top, and then just zip tie it close to this so there's a little bend in there and those lines will never come out. Rather than drilling this out to a massive size and then risking cracking it or whatever else. So we're going to put the silicone back in again. As funny as that was, we're going to try and... Silica.
Now, I don't remember how this came apart. Let's watch the video so we can do it.
The old PL. So it'll help lubricate it going in. So, pretty sure these are long enough.
I'm pretty sure they're long enough too.
About 100 feet of lines, we should be good. Alright, so we got the lines in the end here. We'll see if it works. Green with a red stripe, or the green stripe positive. That's negative.
Okay, pressure testing.
Pressure test. It's trying hard. I hear the silica going. Alright, there go. Ah, that works. These lines didn't blow off. Our little wire held perfect.
Yeah,
The glue's not even dry yet, but at least we blew it out in case there's glue in the line. So mount the compressor there. This is just, I think it's 1/4-inch air line from transport trucks, and these are quick attach fittings. So basically you just take the fitting and shove it in. It can't come back out again unless you push on the fitting, and then they pop right out. So we've got 2 lines going in. That's just the way the compressor worked without messing with the cap too much. We've got one of these going to each one of the wastegates on the top dome, on the dome pressure, and then pressure sensor to tell the computer what pressure it's at. We'll tell the computer to turn it on if it gets below 10 psi or 15 psi and shut off at 40 or 50. And then we got an extra fitting just because it's easier to put a plug in it than it is to tap it afterwards. When you get the Holley system, you get the barb fittings, which basically you can just use vacuum line or even washer fluid line, but it's not as near as good as the plastic truck line. So we've got our control solenoids here, and we'll get into how to wire those up in a little bit once we get some of the plumbing done and figure out where we want these. Especially once we get our exhaust back from Lyle. Not exactly sure where the best place for these are. We might put these inside the cab, maybe out, and I don't know yet. So we're just gonna put those back in the box for now. But the one does need to be vented, and it does come with a little screen. Nothing wrong with those. I just like the push-in tab truck lines so much better. Just guaranteed. So nice. So don't buy these online. Don't buy these fittings online. They seem to be crazy expensive. Go to any truck shop, Mack, Freightliner, any of the big ones, and they'll have cases and cases of these, 90s, 45s, T's, everything, and they're like probably less than $1 a piece. So here we go. So this is to see if the crimp's hold.
You're hurting my hand.
You're hurting my hand. Now this is a good crimp, but obviously the wires are too long. I just didn't feel like cutting it because this is a waste. But this is basically to make sure that you have a good crimp. I think we passed the test.
Yeah, that was a lot of force.
Passed the test, yeah. All right, so we are just gonna lengthen the power wires on the compressor. And what's nice is that the battery's in the trunk, but so is the water pump, the fuel pump, and the compressor, all what draw the most amperage. So we'll have a short run to a relay right off the battery, and then the Holley system just telling the relay to turn on and off. So before we mount this thing, we'll lengthen the wires, and then we're good to go. Nice 12 gauge heavy wires. There we go. Look at that. That's about as perfect as it gets. Throw some shrink wrap over that. So according to Tom, a proper crimp fitting is better than a soldered fitting because the vibrations in that eventually will knock the solder loose. We shouldn't have any vibrations, should we?
No. It doesn't run anyway. And he was also talking about heating, you know, when you heat up metal, it weakens it like in the line or farther down and all that stuff.
Right.
I'll leave just a little bit in case we ever want to use those, which we won't.
Yeah.
Or if it turns into a problem.
Yeah. Okay, so we mounted our compressor, made a bracket here, made a weld bracket on the other side, made a bracket for on this side. It's good and solid. Happy with that. We got our 2 lines going in, feeding our canister. We've got 1 line going into the cab. It'll run along the divider wall, comes back out nicely, and that will control our wastegate. Of course, we'll have grommets in each one of the holes and protect each one. We're just kind of roughly routing it right now to see what it looks like. We've got plenty of wire to make it to a relay box that we're going to mount in the back. Everything will be controlled with, we bypass the head unit in the compressor. We're going with a pressure sensor that is going to tell the computer what the actual PSI is in here. When it hits below a certain point, we'll tell it to turn on. When it goes above a certain point, we'll turn it off. So we never have to worry about our boost control after that. We've got a temperature sensor in our diff to turn our cooling on and off. Same thing when it hits a certain temperature. So I think we got the turbos figured out. The exhaust, nothing's going to be different. On the outside of it, we'll put our O2 bung in there. Once that's all taken care of and we start running our wires nice and neat for everything underneath the car, we could take it off the rotisserie again, where I'd need the engine sitting in the car to actually do the exhaust properly. It's pretty finicky, but I can't do that with it on the rotisserie. Okay, for our boost control, we're using our control solenoids from Holley, and they're marked 1, 2, and 3. And basically we've got our pressure source coming into number 1, which is our compressor. And then this allows the air to go into this T. This will be blocked off. This pushes on the dome pressure, and this allows the pressure out of the dome pressure to this vent here. So basically this allows the air in, and then it's trapped between the 2 solenoids, and then this allows the pressure to come off if we want the wastegates to open. Basically something like this. So we've got our air source coming in. This goes in the car, comes from our tank down below, gets our pressure coming in. We've got a plug right there, and then we've got the T going to the top of our wastegate here. And then we've got our pressure or dome pressure sensor, which tells the computer what's actually going on inside of here. And then we've got the vent on this side and a plug on that side. Everything is Loctite blue, nice and tight. And then I made a little bracket just to come off. This is where the exhaust is underneath, even though it's all wrapped now. We've got a little bracket just to take it off from the heat, and I found those rubber clamps would be best to hold it. It's got a little bit of vibration because of those rubber clamps. We're all happy and excited. Now, these stupid wastegates, they only had a 16th inch hole, so I drilled it out at the top and put an 1/8 inch plug in there. I didn't do that to the bottom because I didn't feel like taking the entire thing apart. So we're gonna have manifold reference coming from into this little 16th inch port here, or this one because I'm gonna plug that one, and then a different size piping to go right here. Still need to put some insulation over top of our fuel lines, but coming together real nice. So time to mount this puppy. Perfect. Nice, a little bit of vibration dampener, and then we'll just drill that into the frame. So these are the boost control solenoids mounted nicely up a little bit. We got a little bit of a gap just for heat, just in case, but these clips are plastic and they were here from before, so they haven't melted, and now we've got the exhaust wrapped too yet. This probably should have went in the turbo fix video, but everything kind of overlaps. So bear with us where everything's kind of happening at the same time. Run into something, do as much as you can, realize you need another fitting or another this or that, so that kind of gets halted, you go on to something else. But anyway, we've got both our solenoids mounted for both turbos. I got a couple air fittings. This is not the right fitting, obviously, because this is one of those cheap ones. We'll run to town, grab a couple more push-in connectors. And then we have a lot of wires that are starting to show up that the next video will be getting going on the wiring. So nice, everything is in the back here. We're getting some fans from Tuesday. I think I'll do as much wiring as I can while it's on the rotisserie, just because it's so nice to just roll it. And then as soon as we're done the wiring underneath, we'll drop it back on its wheels, throw the engine transmission back in it again. And funny thing is, putting the engine and the transmission in is literally the least amount of work that's involved in this car. So it's getting exciting now. Now I've read the manual again twice now, going over my head. And now I'm having a hard time sleeping again, because like this, that, just because it's like everything is about 95%, just that last 5%. But now I'm starting to see wiring diagrams in my head. So if you see wiring diagrams, you know what I'm exploded views of cars when you close your eyes at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning. You know where I'm coming from. Very exciting. Stick around, next video should be wiring. And yeah, we'll see you at LS Fest. Running or not, the car's coming. I figured, hey, even if we've got some issues, there's 5,000 people there that all have this system on their car, and you can do as much research as you want, but nothing trumps 5 years of experience if you've been running the system for a while. So, see you at LS Fest. On top of that, Skid Factory shirts are now added to our inventory, so check out our online store. Check out the link. Open house September 19th. Bowling Green, Kentucky, 7th to the 9th. We'll be in Tennessee, probably the 10th. We'll be in Ohio on the 11th. So follow us on Instagram to see what's going on, where we're at, and here we go.